We already live. We're recording. This is where the magic happens, baby. All right.
Dreams to reality.
Yeah, dreams to reality. Exactly.
So I just want to understand what was your major learnings to have brought you at that moment at the exit point, and also how did your first wingsuit base felt like, and if you can just walk through that jump of yours.
Okay.
Because at that point, when posted that, I was so stoked. I was like jumping in my house.
I appreciate that, dude. Thank you. So what was the first question was how I felt or what did I learn?
Yeah, what was your learning up until that point, and how did your first wingsuit base felt like? If you can just give the walkthrough of that jump, the hike, and what were your feelings during that hike and during the jump as well.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest with you. I felt when it comes to Wingsuit Base or I guess my progression, I was pushing. Um, and there was a lot of
Mm.
people telling me that I needed to slow down or that I was gonna die or that the things I were doing were stupid. And there was a lot of people who were gatekeeping because every time I went up to somebody and I was like, "Hey, the whole purpose of me going to Europe was to Wingsuit Base,
Yeah.
and I wanted to do it under the safest conditions possible."
Mm.
But I felt I was ready, and other people felt like I was not ready, and they felt like it was not a good idea and it was not safe. So Brento would have been the safest place for me to have done it. Now, if I'm being
Mm-hmm.
completely honest with you, there was a lot of gatekeeping going on at Brento. I was not able to do my first wingsuit base jump at Brento because they required that I had 200 uh 2000 wingsuit jumps first and foremost, like out of a plane, and then they wanted me to do coaching with someone who was like
Mm-hmm.
a certified coach at Brento. So I had to
Yeah.
prove, and then there was like a progression that they suggested. So first, the progression was I go slick, and I do maybe like 50 jumps slick. And then after I go slick, then I go into a two piece. And then from a two piece, I do a
Right.
progression with a coach. And then after the coach says I'm good for a two piece, then I go to a onesie. And then from a onesie, I
Mm.
have to jump with a coach. And then after that, so obviously, if I was going to follow that progression, I was not going to be wingsuit base jumping this season, nor was
Yeah.
I going to be wingsuit base jumping for the next season after that, or even after that. Because like I told you in the beginning of this call, I maybe have 300 to 400 wingsuit jumps, just wingsuit
Mm-hmm.
jumps out of the plane. So they needed 2,000 of those, meaning I'd have to go back home, back to the United States, and train,
Yeah.
and then do two piece, and then do onesie, and then finally jump in my wingsuit. So that's what they wanted to see in order for me to jump at Brento. So I had two options. Option one was to ignore what they were saying and jump off of Brento and never be allowed to jump at Brento again
Mm.
because uh, they would have burned, I would have burned the spot for myself. Because if you,
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, they have a telescope at the bottom of the mountain at Brento and they can see what you're wearing, who you're jumping, and they have radios and they can talk to you at the top. So I mean, obviously, I go there and I'm like, hey, I want a wingsuit base, and they're like, no, you can't, and I do it, they're gonna suspend me. I'm never gonna be allowed to jump there again. At least they're not gonna make it easy. For instance, why I say that is because nobody controls the mountain. I can jump the mountain if I would like, but there's a 2 hour hike if I wanted to hike up
Mm.
the mountain. Now, what they do control is the buses. They have a bus system that allows that 2 hour hike to be maybe 30 minutes of a drive. You pay, I think it was like, how much was it? Like 12 bucks? 17 euros, and they take you to the top of the mountain. So instead of doing a 2 hour hike, you do a 30-minute ride. So if I wanted to, at the end of the day, I could have said, forget you guys, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to jump at Brento. And I could have burned the spot for myself and not been able to ride the
Yeah.
buses or anything. I decided against that because I like to jump at Brento. I have other friends who introduced me, and I didn't want to burn the relationship that I had with the friends. So I decided to do my own thing. I went over to Switzerland. I went over to this exit point in the valley called Dumpster, and I went with a
Mm.
group of friends and I jumped my wingsuit base jump there because obviously I had two options: burn the spot at Brento or abide by the rules and not do a wingsuit base jump. So I decided that okay, I'm gonna abide by the rules because I have friends. I want to respect their wishes. I don't want
Mm.
to burn any relationships, and I took it on upon myself to do my own thing. I went to the valley and I jumped. So that's kind of how that went about. But there are gatekeepers. There's going to be people who tell you it's a bad idea, who, oh, you
Right.
can't do this, you can't do that. It's your decision at the end of the day whether you're going to jump or not. It's nobody else's responsibility.
Yeah, I think you are spot on because I was listening to Duke's Q&A, and he said the exact same thing. They have portrayed an organic process for organic progression,
Hmm.
and those the gatekeepers that you're talking about. So yeah, and there's no rules and regulations in the sport base as of now, but they certainly have some kind of gatekeepers who keep an eye on you, and they can blacklist you as well.
Yeah.
So I think like you did the right thing. You respected the rules, and then you found another exit point. And so there were no regulations on that exit point, or no gatekeepers in Switzerland.
In Switzerland, there's no gatekeepers. You show up and you say, like, there's a bunch of exit points all around you in the valley.
Right.
There's a website on the Swiss Base Association telling you how difficult the exit is and what they suggest you jump off, whether it's a two-piece, a onesie, or a wingsuit.
Hmm.
So there's a website and it tells you exactly what you do. So I went on the website. I looked for the easiest object to jump off in a wingsuit, and
Hmm.
and dumpster was one of those objects. So I took it upon myself to go to the locals. There's a base jumping hostel there. I went to the hostel. I ended up spending a night or two there. I think it was maybe 3 or 4 nights actually. Me and my wife. We were there and we spoke to the people and we're like, "Hey, these are my goals. This is what I want to do. What do you suggest?" They helped me out, and then they literally took me to the exit point and they're like, "Have fun, enjoy yourself." So I was like, "All right, here we go." And then that's the video you see posted on YouTube of me doing my
Yeah,
first wingsuit base jump.
it's a pretty simple jump. So you just jumped, and then I think the angle of attack is very important. I'm just a novice. I'm just figuring things out,
Yes,
but you're obviously experienced that. But good angle of attack, and then you just separated and threw the wall, and then flared, and then that's it. And then
exactly.
jump. I think.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
main thing is
awesome.
just obviously having a good exit. I think the most important part of a base jumping wingsuit, like a wingsuit base jump, is the exit. If you nail the exit,
Mm.
everything else is great. If you don't nail
Yep.
the exit, you're gonna have a bad time, if not have a flight at all. So the exit is the most important part. But then you'll notice if you know how to fly a wingsuit, 2 to 3 seconds after you exit and you're in free fall, it's gonna feel
Mhm.
like a skydive because you're gonna have the air pressure, your suit's gonna inflate, and then you're just going to go to a regular wingsuit flight. And if you know how to fly a wingsuit out of a plane, then it's not really that difficult. The only thing you need to learn how to do is to exit in a wingsuit. That's the difficult part. And that's the part that kind of stressed me out and kind of put worry in my head.
Right, as people have said, when you're like those couple of seconds, you are in God's grace,
Literally.
and just expecting your suit to align, and then you can go
Yeah.
forward.
You have to trust and you have to just give it to God. Yeah, God's grace, dude. It is what it is. You
Yeah.
you have to do as much preparation as possible to prepare for that moment and then exit and then listen to what your mentors have told you about exiting, the things that you need to keep in mind, where you're looking. Is it above the horizon, at the horizon? What's your body position doing? All these things come into play.
Yeah, and like you already said, choose faith over fear. That's a strong statement.
Yes, it is, and I live by it every single day. In a lot of the choices that I
Yeah.
make, first and foremost, do I honor God, and and then secondly,
Mhm.
is my decisions bringing up my fellow neighbor. This is how I like to live my life.
So, do you think there's a trend that majority of people, us as well, I've met with a couple of jumpers, and we share the same case. There's a trend that majority of people wants to snowball quickly to wingsuit base without getting the fundamentals, and those gatekeepers that we're talking about, that organic process from two piece to one piece to onesie, and then basic suits, and then those auras or sea base that we all see, and how risky that is without getting the fundamentals right. And like, I won't accuse you that you did your research as well, but you respected the gatekeepers, but there are many people who don't, right?
For sure. If I'm being 100% honest, the recommendations at Brento were correct. Like fundamentally, they are
Mm.
speaking truth. That is the safest progression that you can take, is what they were telling me to do. Now, at the time, did I make the wisest decision? No, I didn't. I chose to do my own thing and I had my own plan. And I felt I was ready. Could I have continued doing more wingsuit base jumps? Sure. Again, when I did my first wingsuit base jump, was it overwhelming for me? Yeah, it was a lot. Did I feel like I was ready at the time? Yes, because if I didn't feel like I was ready, I wouldn't have done it. Could I have
Yep.
prepared more getting to that point? Yes, of course I could have prepared more. But as you saw in the progression and documentation, I kind of rushed
Hmm.
it. Like I was on the fast track of like, how can you go
Yeah,
from zero to wingsuit base? Now, if
200
I
jumps.
yeah, literally. So if I wanted to make
Yeah.
it a long-term thing and I wanted my life to be wingsuit based and I wanted to make a real career out of it, I would do the right thing and I would take a slow progression. I would do a
Mhm.
two-piece, I would do a onesie, I would do a small suit like a Swift, get super comfortable in Wingsuit Base in a Swift, then an ATC, get really comfortable in an ATC, and then do a creature freak or things like this. But again, that was not my goal, and my goals are not everybody else's goals. If they
Yep.
want to do base the safest way and they want to, for whatever reason, I mean, first and foremost, if they're going to be safe base jumpers, I mean, base jumping is not safe. Nothing about what we're doing is safe. So it's only as safe as you make it. And again, I was willing to take that risk for the reward that I wanted. So that's kind of where it comes into play. But everybody's different. So I can't tell you what to do, what your progression should be. Your progression is not my progression. My progression is not your
Yeah.
progression. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, we are all different individuals. That's correct.
Yeah.
So next question, what skills one personally can train to excel specifically in wingsuiting inside and outside a skydiving environment? You can cover maybe body and angle flying in that environment, right? And outside that environment, we can talk about health and fitness, covering core strength and balance development, which is what I've heard from people that
Mhm.
they train.
Yeah, there's no replacement for getting in the suit. I want to say like, oh, there's things that you can do outside of the suit to prepare yourself for the suit. And the
Mhm.
only thing that I can think of is like tracking or angle flying, but it's not the same. It's similar, but
Right.
it's not the same. The only thing that I would suggest is you have to get in a suit and to have a good coach by your side to help you. You could do jumps by yourself, you could do jumps with friends, but in order to progress fast, if you want to progress fast, is to have a coach. So I would do as many coaching jumps in a small suit like a Swift, and then move to an
Hmm.
ATC once you're ready, and then move to a Freak or something like that. And also, if you have unlimited funds, tunnel time. Like tunnel time is amazing, but again, it's super expensive. This is the sport we live in.
Yeah.
Every single
Yeah.
jump we go up is at least like 30, $40. So it's like if we're made out of money, we can progress super quickly. If we're not, we have to take the fast track. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of,
Yeah.
but again, there's no replacement for actually getting in the suit. I would love to suggest you do some groundwork, but there's nothing I can really think of to replace the feeling of actually being in the suit and having a coach by your side.
Right. I think just to add on to your point, money is a curse nowadays. It's actually very favorable to be God's poor children, because then we actually, after accomplishing that goal, it's that hunger in us that drives us, instead of
Hmm.
just having a money on our back, or rich parents. Yeah, it doesn't give any feeling of accomplishment.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, so it's good to be God's poor children.
Yes, for sure, dude.
Actually, my you answered my next question. It was about tunnel, because there's a tunnel in Stockholm. Of course, you have heard of it.
Yes.
When's the right time to actually try a tunnel? There's an instructor there, Tomic. He
Hmm.
said in an interview that he started tunnel at the earliest stage, and he choose not to put on bigger suits like Free Creature or these kind of suits. He choose to put on smaller suits to improve his core strength and flying agility. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sal, that it's easier to fly bigger suits as compared to smaller suits, because bigger suits, it's like a carpet, more surface area and more weight. And if you fly smaller suits like Swift or onesie, it's actually a little bit difficult. So if you progress with that, it will give you huge benefits when you actually get into meat and potato situation.
Yeah, I would agree. The smaller suits are harder to fly. The thing that I would say about that is if you think of a tightrope, the smaller suits are a
Mhm.
thin tightrope, very skinny. Any little movement and you're falling off the tightrope.
Right.
When you have a bigger surface area, the tightrope or your balancing point is a lot easier. And the smaller suits are typically more agile. They move quicker. So if you can learn how to manipulate your body in a smaller suit, then you can
Mhm.
definitely transfer that same energy into a bigger suit, and then you're just going to have a better performance overall. So yeah, get really good in a small suit, and then the tunnel will help with that. And then, of course,
Right.
those skills in the small suit transfer over to the bigger suit because it's just going to make your transition a lot easier if you can really hone in your skills on
Mm.
the small suit. Yes.
So to answer the question of the audience, it's better to get your first flight course with a good coach, and then you can progress the skills on that small suit in a tunnel, and then you can put on bigger suits, and it's like back and forth.
I think it all comes down to the fundamentals, and the fundamentals in wingsuit is the smallest suit you can have. So you want to build that block of the pyramid as big as possible because that next
Okay.
block is going to be like a pyramid. So again, it depends on how far you want to go in the sport. If you want to make a career out of it, you need to make sure your foundation is as thick and wide as possible. And then all the
Right.
skills are going to build on the small suit are going to transfer into the bigger suits.
So let's talk a little bit about performance flying, because Burns, uh, he focused a lot on that. He, talked about fly sight, even before it was a thing. And just want to get your feedback. Is performance wingsuit flying discipline, like, is speed, distance, time runs, to uh, learn that performance wingsuit flying discipline, or take that and transfer those skills into the base environment and see the best result? Is it the correct form to go?
I think the best of the best, like if you honestly are trying to be the best of the best, you should be tracking your performance because at the end of the day, the numbers do not lie, and that's how you can improve.
Mm.
For instance, I had a friend who did some coaching with James Boole while he was out there in Brento, and he
Mm.
had a fly sight on, and that's how you can visually see that you're improving because your fly sight numbers will change. And now me, I don't want to talk on something that I haven't really done. I have a fly sight. Did I use it in training? Sometimes yes, but when it comes to base, I knew what my purpose was. It was just to do a wingsuit base, and it wasn't to really take it to the elite level. I didn't want to be the biggest and baddest. So I really didn't really go down that route. But if you are trying to be the biggest and baddest and you're trying to really improve and
Mm.
perform to your best, a fly sight is perfect because it literally gives you numbers that do not lie, where you can actively see your progression, what works and what's not working.
Yeah, and there's one more app, I think, Baseline app. Have you heard of that, Sal?
I don't think
Have
so.
you used it?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think it tracks your, like, it uses the data from FlySight, and it tracks your performance and actually gives you the visual representation uh, of the terrain flying, like your actual path. And
Gotcha.
then you can like, you can see your friend's path, and then you can calculate your see your glide ratio and how well you would lead to the path. So it's, I think, yeah, I think you should try that in the future.
Okay,
Baseline app.
I'll definitely check it out. Mhm.
So just want to, get into the safety now. Like, that's a very important aspect, because we've all seen those statistics in base fatality. I'm just yeah, I'm just so appalled and saddened by uh, it's a really hard topic for me to talk to you about, but it's the unfortunate truth that many of our, especially my heroes, they have, unfortunately passed away. And I've seen their recordings on the base fatality list, and yeah, it bums me out every time. So that's why, I wanted to dwell into the topic of safety. Are we pushing too much? Are we pushing our limits too much? And why are these like fatalities happening, especially in last couple of years?
Yeah, I feel like this question is out of my wheelhelm because
Mm.
again, I only have one wingsuit base jump, so I'm kind of talking on something I don't really have any opinion on. Um, but wingsuit base jumping at the end of the day is dangerous. What we are doing is dangerous. We are not supposed to be doing these things. We are pushing the limits of what humans are capable of.
Right.
So it just goes at the end of the day. I mean, always people are going to want to progress. They're going to want to try something new. They're going to want to see if they can get away with something new. And it's like, at the end of the day,
Mm.
where do we draw the line? Where do we say enough is enough? Hey, we did a good job. Where we came is far enough. We're doing amazing. Like,
Mm.
I feel like everybody wants to always push the line, and then eventually you push it a little too far, and that's the end of that. I had to learn this lesson myself, where it's like you're always pushing, you're pushing, you're pushing, and then something bad happens, and either you get humbled, something puts you in check, or you end up dead. So it's like, what are you gonna do at the end of the day? Because base jumping is not, it's as safe as you make it, yes, but it's not. We're not supposed to be doing this stuff, like, but we are.
Yeah, that would lead into my next question. I saw your video, Sal, where you were talking about how base jumping is most selfish act or sport. I really introspected on the statement that you made, and really it made me believe that you're, like, spot on. It's actually the most selfish sport, because there's not many people are benefiting except from you. So I just want to understand, then, if that's the case, and I think the case is true, why, uh, what drives people, to still participate in this sport given the risk involved? And if you can answer in your case personally,
Yeah. There's
like,
no
what are we looking to achieve?
the feeling, emotion. There's nothing I at least for me, I'm gonna speak from personal experience. I had
Mm.
this hole in my heart. I was sad. I was not happy with my life and I wanted to change. So I was like, oh man, these people look like they're living their best lives. It looks like they're free. What a rush of adrenaline. They're living, they're actively doing something amazing. They're flying. Like what other amazing thing there. So I thought that was gonna fill the hole in my heart. It didn't. It gave me a temporary feeling that kind of felt
Yeah.
my cup, but at the end of the day, it wasn't pure, it wasn't real, it wasn't sustainable. You can't always have that chase, that drive. And that's what leads people to dying because they're always chasing the next high. Oh, what? Well, because I bet eventually, after you do enough flattened stables, you want to do an aerial. Oh, I'll do one gainer. Cool.
Yeah.
After you do one gainer, the excitement goes away. I'll do two gainers.
Mm.
Okay, two gainers now. Okay, I'm excited.
Flipping the strike flips.
It just keeps going, and then eventually you
Yeah.
plow in and you die. So it's like, what are we doing? If we're always chasing this next high, I think that's why people continue to base jump because it feels like nothing else. It's the that pure adrenaline is like a drug. And we're all,
Mm.
as a base jumper, I was always chasing that next high. And then I had to take a step back and realize, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And then I realized it was selfish. I am doing this to fulfill the empty void that I have in my heart.
Yeah.
And I want to feel something. And this is temporarily putting a band-aid over that, but this is not the truth. This is not really fulfilling me as an individual. And now, obviously, I've shifted. What fulfills me is helping other people, sharing the knowledge that I have,
Mm.
making a positive impact on other people. The total opposite of base jumping, because again, I think base jumping is selfish. Now, what's the opposite of being selfish? Doing things for others. How can I help? I just want to share any knowledge that I have, any information that I have to make a positive impact on other people's lives. And that's how I'm living today.
Can you please talk about consideration while selecting gear? I'm just, sorry for bombarding you with all the wingsuit questions
You're
because
good.
that's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But especially selecting because I'm yet to buy my. In my case, I only have 51 jumps, and love tracking, and I've got B license, but I'm from 51 to 200. I'm ready to buy a tracking suit and get that fly sight and see the data, and I think that's a progression that I personally want for myself. But
Hmm.
I don't have my rig yet, and that's the major issue. I'm looking at the marketplace, specifically wingsuit specific rings where a long bridle and a good stable mains parachute. So what should one consider while selecting wingsuit specific gear, and do you have any specific brand or equipment preference derived from your personal experience?
So it sounds like you're on the right track. It sounds like you know exactly what you're looking for and you've done your research. So props on that. Yeah, an extended bridle for wingsuit. Is it nice? Yes. Is it necessary?
Mhm.
No. And this answer might
Yeah.
shock you. The canopy and the whole setup, the rig, the container, everything, the reserve that I used for wingsuiting was the
Mhm.
only canopy I've ever bought, and I lucked out big time. Um,
Is that the Mirage one? I
it's
think
the
it is.
Mirage one. That's the same one I've always had. And people ask me, they're like, "Well, don't you need a wingsuit specific canopy?" And the answer is
Hmm.
no. As long as it opens gently, it's not aggressive when it opens. It's a good flying canopy. You're good to go. The bigger, I would say, the better because again, you don't want to jump a 67 velo or something out of your. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're wingsuiting, you want to have a when you wingsuit, it's pretty. You can get line twists pretty easily. It's an often
Hmm.
occurrence. So you want to have a big canopy up over your head that's going to be fly relatively easy, like non-aggressive. And then other than that, I mean, I don't have a extended bridle. I don't have like anything fancy. Just and I'm sure you can speak to the people who wingsuit in your community and ask them what they're jumping. But again, I jump a Pilot 170 from Aerodyne. It's not the fanciest thing ever. It's a big canopy
Right.
that's docile, nice and smooth, opens great. I have on-heading openings for the most part. So it's like as long as it's big and it does the job and you're safe, that's all that really matters. But as far as gear goes, it doesn't have to be, oh, if you don't buy this specific stuff, then you're gonna die. That's not how it works. So if you're asking me to recommend a brand, it's whatever you can afford, dude. Like I'm telling you, my first one was a
Right.
Perigee Pro. That was my first container. And an Ace, which is old. It's from like the 80s or 90s. So that was my first container. And now I have a Squirrel. I think it's a Crux, either one or two. And then I have a Outlaw. It's like a 240. So again, it's like whatever you can afford. Because at the time, a friend gave it to me. It was a used rig, but it was an Outlaw 240 and a Crux, which is like pretty good. It was in great shape. I'm a rigger. Obviously, I did an inspection on it. Everything looked great. And they gave it to me for like 1,200 bucks. So it's like if you can get a good deal on good equipment and a rigger can look
Mhm.
over it and make sure it's airworthy and everything's okay, then hey, send it. Now, with base gear specifically, if you're going to take it seriously, I would recommend getting new gear. I personally
Okay.
like Squirrel. I'm not endorsed by them, nor do they sponsor me, but that's the only company I have experience with. I would be stepping out of my wheelhouse if I was going to talk about Phoenix Fly or anything else like that. So your goal is wingsuit base?
Yeah, that's the dream.
Okay. Yeah, what like I said, I would suggest for you to get with people who are already wingsuiting, talk to them, get as close to them and build a solid relationship with them as possible. If they offer
Mm,
coaching, I would take them up on that. Obviously, you only have around 50 jumps right now. You have to get to 200. In the
yeah.
meantime, do tracking jumps or do angle jumps. These are going to be the best for you. And then once you hit 200, sign up for a course, a first flight course. You're
Mm,
going to need to buy the Great Book of Base. Buy that book now. In that book, they have exercises that you can do under your canopy to prepare you for base jumping. It also talks a lot about wingsuiting, about angle of attack, speed, things like that. So you need to buy the book, you need to read the book, highlight the book. The book is the Bible basically for Wingsuit Base. The third volume's out now. You're gonna buy that, you're gonna read that, you're gonna study that. That's your Bible, and there's actionable steps in that book that you can take under canopy now between 0 to 200 jumps. And then once you get to 200 jumps, you're gonna get in a wingsuit. And then of course, or you can sign up for a base course, whichever you want to do first. You can do a base course, wingsuit, but you're gonna have to get good at both base jumping and wingsuiting. And then once you get good at both of those, you're gonna combine them, which is obviously wingsuit base. Now,
yep.
again, the safest place to do that is at Brento, but if you're going to take that route, there is gatekeeping. So you're going to need at least 2,000 wingsuit jumps. You're going to need jumps in a onesie. You're going to need jumps in a two-piece. They're going to need to see you perform. So you're going to have to hire a coach. There's going to be a lot going on there. So, but that's the progression as I would lay it out for you if I had any
Yeah.
advice.
I'll have to keep an eye on all those telescopes on
Yeah,
window.
dude, this is a lot. Yeah.
And what are your plans in the future, Sal? Like regarding the sport? Last
Um,
question.
I'm just going to enjoy
Do you plan
myself.
to do more wingsuit base jumps, progress in that,
Wingsuit
or you're just
base, I've kind of, I mean, maybe
kept it
we'll
on hold?
see. Yeah, it's kind of on hold for now, wingsuit base, but we'll see what the future holds. Right now, I'm just enjoying base jumping. I love base jumping because what you'll realize is the second you get in a wingsuit, it feels like you're getting in a straight jacket, and it feels like you're
Mm.
you're getting one step closer to death. So that's not a lot of fun. Every time I got into the wingsuit, I was sweating a lot, but when I base jump and I skydive, it's less pressure and it's more fun. And again, as we spoke, I think base jumping, wingsuit base jumping, and skydiving all is kind of selfish. So I've kind of put that on the back burner and I want to, again, focus on things that provide value to other people. Will I continue to base jump? Yes. Will I continue to skydive? Yes. So that's kind of where we're headed in the future. For instance, this Saturday or maybe even tomorrow, I'm hoping to go to Skydive Houston, do some jumps, maybe even a wingsuit jump or two, who knows. But then, of course, and then Moab, I'm going to head to Moab, do some base jumping there. So, yes, I'm still doing those things, but not as focused on those things as I used to be.
All right, thank you so much, Sal. I really appreciate it, mate, that you took the time out to answer my questions, and can't wait to meet you one day. Maybe we'll connect in Europe
For sure,
in a
brother. That'd
couple
be
of years.
sick. I appreciate you, MJ. Thank you for your time and thanks for the questions, dude. I'm here to help if anything. And you have my contact, so let's keep in touch.
Thank you so much, Sal. Appreciate it.
Of
Love
course. Have
you,
a great
brother.
night, MJ.